Hey viewers, real quick, click the top link in the video description to join my mailing list. I'll have merch and a book coming out soon, so join the mailing list and I can send you updates on those things. Thank you.
How could you be an atheist if God doesn't exist?
Well, then you believe in leprechauns, and unicorns.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, is it the definition of
So am I.
atheism a lack of belief in the existence of God?
Yeah, I
Is
also
that, is
don't
that
believe in leprechauns, but that doesn't mean that therefore they must exist.
oh, okay? So,
I don't deny God, I just don't believe in God.
but you lack a belief in the existence of God. Therefore, you have to
And
imply
unicorns.
that God exists.
Nope. you
Well,
can
what
you
what
can
do you
start
like to
with
do
the you
with
can
your?
start with the claim and then just not believe in it, but that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it does exist, because if that's the way it worked,
But
then I wouldn't be an atheist. Nobody even could be an atheist.
but how
People
can you be
also
an
would not
atheist
be able
if
to
God didn't
not believe in
exist?
unicorns.
No, but you don't lack a belief in the existence of unicorns, or lack a belief in the existence of Frodo, or lack
Yes,
a
I
belief
do.
in the existence of the Tooth Fairy.
You
You lack a
ask
belief.
me if I
You
believe in the tooth fairy.
specifically,
Do it,
you
Angel.
specifically.
Ask me if I believe in the tooth fairy. Do
No,
it. Ask me.
we're
Ask me if
talking
I
about,
believe in the tooth fairy.
we're talking about existence. Existence. You specifically, an atheist specifically lacks a belief in the existence of God.
Ask me
Therefore,
if I believe in the existence of the tooth
therefore,
fairy. Ask me.
therefore,
Ask me.
therefore, you
Ask
have
me.
to. That's it's an applied. God have to have an
Ask.
implied existence.
Ask, and ye
Yeah.
shall receive.
Well, show me.
Ask me.
There's 7 to 8% of atheists and agnostics in the world. I don't see 7 to 8% of people who lack a belief in the existence of the tooth fairy in the world.
Ask
It's
me.
7 to 8% of
Ask me.
it's 7 to 8% of people who lack a belief in God and the existence of God. So doesn't that mean that you basically have an outlier position? You're basically reacting to the 84, 85% of people that believe in a God or a higher power. There's more people, hold on,
I'm doing the
there's more
same thing I
people
was
in the
doing when
world.
I was born, which is
There's
continuing not to believe in God.
there's more people in the world that believe the earth is flat than there are atheists and agnostics. The
I I
atheists and agnostics
so doubt that. China is a largely atheist country.
Atheists in the world make up 7 to 8% of the world. That's about 400, 450 million. They just did a survey where they said how many people believe the earth is flat. There was 10% in the world that think the earth is flat, and plus 9% that are unsure. That's 19%. There's people that think it's more rational to believe that the earth is flat than there is people who think not to
Did
believe
you
in
say it
God, the
was
existence of God. That's how much of an outlier position atheism is.
Did you say 4% of the world
It's
population are
one flew
atheists?
under the cuckoo's nest. 7%, 7 to 8% of the
So
world
okay,
are
so
atheists.
that is
Hmm.
8% of 8 billion is
Hmm.
640 million.
Yes.
That's that's not quite the population of Europe, but it's getting close.
Uh-huh.
You think that many people
But
think the
but you
earth
know
is
how
flat?
many but you know how many people believe that have an inherent belief that there's a God or a higher power, something outside of themselves? 84 to 85%. So you simply
Cool.
reacting to what most people believe exists. They have it's like saying you have a lack of belief in the existence of gravity. Well, if you got a lack of belief in the existence of gravity, it's on and you in the only what 7 8%, then it's the burden of proof is on you to prove gravity doesn't exist. Gravity is
No.
well established. Atheism is so small. Seven out of all the science, out of all this information technology, 7 to 8 easily percent believe in atheism or agnosticism. That's an outlier. That's a blip.
So
I mean,
what?
you got more people that believe the Earth is flat than they
So
believe in
what?
atheism or
Historically,
Gnosticism.
historically, most people were pagan.
But this
Today,
is
I don't
why.
think that's the case, but
But this is why you have to, as an atheist, you can't exist if God doesn't exist. You are
Angel,
reacting to the
then the tooth
84 and
fairy
85
exists.
percent. Hold up. You relax. You
Santa
reacting to.
Claus exists.
Listen. You're
You know
reacting
what
to.
percentage of 8-year-olds think Santa Claus exists? Now we
You're.
should probably go with 5-year-olds.
You know what atheists are doing? You're reacting to the inherent belief of the rational 84 and 85%. The rest
It's
of us.
not an inherent. I would not say it's an
The
inherent rational
84
belief.
and the
What we
85.
should do is raise people, enormous groups of people, and don't preload them with ideas of
Love them.
gods and see what they start
There's
believing
all
in.
this science, there's all this information. If you are right, why didn't all these people just migrate as the information increased and more access to information? Why is it still just 7 or 8%? Why do we have more
Not that
people?
long ago,
Why do we have
it was much smaller. It's growing very quickly.
why do we have people who think the earth is flat? More people who think the earth is flat than there are people who are atheists and agnostic. That's a shame. You people are one flew atheist and agnostic was like one flew under the. You don't even think you have free will. Most people
I don't
inherently.
think you have it either.
Well, how do you account for things like Bayesian and updating if we don't have free will?
I don't
For
know.
instance,
I don't because I don't know what you're talking about.
Bayesian updating is basically saying if you have your favorite food, you choose your favorite food based on the history of eating different foods, and then you update
Wow.
what your favorite food is
Yep.
by you do a Bayesian statistic, Bayesian updating
Yep.
to choose your favorite food based on your
Yep.
history.
I
But if
have
you have no
thoughts. I have
choice,
thoughts and I make
but
decisions.
if you
Yep.
have no
No
choice,
free will required.
if you have no free will, no choice, then you can't even. Well, who's picking anything for you but a
I
bunch
am.
of chemicals?
Yeah,
No.
me.
What are you?
No. If I don't have free will, then
What are
I
you?
make the decisions.
Hold up.
That's
Who is
actually how it
making the
works.
decision? Tell me give me the if you don't have a soul, a spirit, or a
His
person,
name's Eric.
who is making what part of your body is making the decisions? What chemical part of your body?
I would say probably the entire body is part of it.
Exactly. It's just what. Let me ask you. What's the difference?
Josh.
What's the difference between the choice of an atheist making a choice, ice melting on a tray? It's just a reaction.
I'm not ice. Yeah.
It's just a reaction. There's nothing outside the chemical reaction to love anybody. So it's the
No,
chemical
I
reaction.
love people. You're
How?
t- you're telling
How do
me
you
I
love
don't love my
somebody?
mom. My free will does. I'm telling you, no,
Oh,
I do.
if you have no free will, how do you love your mom?
By loving her.
Hold on,
It's a full on
hold up.
bodily
If you're not making a choice,
physiological
if you're
experience.
not making a choice to love, you're just being fooled by chemistry. If you're not making a choice to love your mom as an atheist, you're just a chemical automaton. You're not
Cool.
loving anybody. So you're not making any
No,
choice to
yeah,
love
I
anybody.
do.
Hold it. Well, who's making the choice? You or
I
the
am.
chemical or the chemical reaction?
Those chemicals are what make up me, so I am.
Okay, so is the chemical reaction making the choice, or do you control the chemical reaction? And if you
Chemical
control
you
hold
can't
up.
separate the chemical reactions from me.
Okay, so do you control the chemical reactions?
Do I control them? No, I guess not. The same way I don't choose
Well,
to feel pain.
hold up, if you don't control the chemical reactions, then
If
you're
you have
not
free
making a
will,
choice.
if you
You're
have
not
free
making a
will,
choice
sit
to
down
love
on a
your
stove
mom.
and don't feel pain.
Then you're making a
I
choice.
double dog dare you to sit
You
on a stove and don't feel
atheist.
pain
Look,
since you have so much free will.
I'm gonna show you.
Now I triple dog dare you. Now you have to do
Atheism,
it.
atheism and agnosticism is so
Angel, you've been
irrational.
triple dog dared.
It's so irrational that you have more people that believe the earth is flat, and you don't even think
That's
you
not
can
true.
choose.
That
You don't
deserves one
even
of
think you
these.
can
Every time
choose to
you
love
say something
anybody.
like that, I'm going to do this.
You don't even think you choose. Matter of fact, you don't even think you can choose to love anybody. How was
Yes,
that
I
hard?
do. You just think that your free will does it, and I'm saying, no, I do it. And you don't even know what free will is. So there.
You don't even have a choice to love anybody.
Okay.
Let me ask you, Peter. Here you go, right here. Here goes something for
Neither
you.
do you. So what's the point?
Here goes something for you.
Angel, can you. Okay. So I
Here
take it
go,
you're
no,
not going to sit on a stove and choose to not feel pain. I take it you're not going to
here
do
go a
that?
recent study. About the Earth is flat, not round.
Oh,
Ten
you're not
percent
listening.
agree. 9% are unsure.
Who was polled?
It was, you can look up the study on at
Or you could just tell me.
Carsey UNH-EDU.
Or
That's
you could just tell me.
University of New Hampshire did this study on the
And
world.
who did they poll?
They polled 1,134 U.S. adults
Yep, great.
in the
So we're
study.
comparing the U.S. population to
Yeah,
another poll that polled the
that's how
entire
polls work.
world.
If you ever seen a poll, a scientific poll in an election year, that's how polls work. But at the end of the day,
The way election polls don't work is they don't
listen,
only poll people
listen,
in Rhode Island to try to guess what the national
listen.
consensus around an idea is.
How many
So
think
when
that?
you compared a poll that
Listen,
talked to 1,000 Americans
it's
and about the shape of the earth to
different people
a
on the world, different
global
people in the
poll
world,
about beliefs,
and
then
different
what you're
people in the
doing
world.
is making an argument that is
Different people. What
poopy.
this published was established perfectly in academic journals. If you want to,
That's great.
if you want to write a paper to refute their methodology, then go ahead and do so. But what the paper says is that 10% of the Earth is flat. 10% agree, 9% unsure.
No, they
And listen,
asked Americans.
and NASA did not land on the moon. 12% agree, 17% unsure. More people believe these things than are atheists and agnostic, which make up 7 to 8% of the population. You're an outlier. Atheism is an outlier.
Angel,
Here you go.
you know that
Seven
every
percent of the
single one
world
of those
population
people is a you know that virtually
atheists.
every one of those people is a Christian.
84 to 85% of the world, 84.5% of the world believe in
Angel,
God or a higher power.
Angel, I've never met a flat earther who wasn't a Christian except for one. What does that tell you?
What it tells me is that they're actually being more rational than atheists and agnostics, because people find it only 7% believe in atheist. It's an irrational to believe that God doesn't exist. It's irrational to think that there's nothing
So it's
exists.
more rational to assume that God exists and the earth is
Yeah.
flat than
It's
it is to assume than it is to not assume that God exists,
mhm.
but that the earth is a globe.
It's less rational to believe that God or higher power doesn't exist. It's irrational. It's a 7 to 8%, measly 78% of the world population believes such nonsense. It's I mean, think about that. Most people, God, the belief in the God higher power is his established. You're reacting to the established existence of what people think is an inherent truth, that there's a God or higher power that exists. You are reacting to that by saying you lack a belief in that, but you don't have any evidence to prove that God doesn't exist to support your lack of belief. Just like if you say I have a lack of belief in gravity, you got to provide evidence that gravity doesn't exist. The people who believe gravity exists don't have to prove to you
Oh
that
my
gravity exists.
Angel, I'm on this web
Atheism
I'm
is
on
just
this website.
illogical.
Angel, this is so unbelievably funny. I'm on this website and
Hmm.
this poll you're referring to, you want to tell the audience who they polled?
Uh, uh, adults.
What's their belief system?
Doesn't matter.
It's Trump supporters. This is a Trump supporter
Well, does
poll,
it matter?
Angel. Yes, it absolutely does. These are Trump supporters. So these are people who are inherently deeply illogical because they believe in all the lies and bullshit that a professional con artist sold to them. This is literally, this is a Trump poll. And these people are hardcore Christians. So you
But the
pulled
point,
people that are
listen,
members of like 5 different cults, what they believed in, and tried to compare that to atheists.
but exactly. But what that shows is you missing the point. The point
I
is that
am.
those people are being considered more rational
No,
than
they're not.
atheists,
No,
because
they're
atheists
not.
and Nazis they only make up 7 to 8% of the world population. Only
This
7 to 8%. You're worse than them.
These
You're
are
the
Trump
belief,
supporters,
the
which
lack of
is
hold it, the
these are
lack of belief in
ex-Trump
God.
supporters.
That's exactly the
Please,
point.
you
The
gotta
lack
shut
of
up.
belief.
You gotta shut up. The way you compare numbers is unthinkably bad. These are ex-Trump supporters, which is like maybe around 30 to 40% of the country, right? And it's 30 to 40% of the American population. So perhaps roughly 30 to 40% of the American population, and it's not even that because they have to be
Mhm,
adults or whatever, but
mhm.
30 to 9 or whatever it was percent of United States Trump supporters, so a small fraction of a tiny fraction believe this, and then you're comparing that to the global numbers. There's
Yes,
absolutely no way
the
that those
reason why
numbers
I'm
are going to
saying that is
track.
the reason why I'm saying that is because only 7 to 8% of the world's population believe in atheism or Gnosticism. You have a lesser, more people think it's rational to believe the earth is flat than they do to believe in atheism or
These are
Gnosticism.
not rational
Why
people.
is that?
Angel,
Because you
these
guys don't
aren't
believe you have,
rational people.
you know
They're
why?
deeply irrational.
You
They're
know why?
members of multiple
You
cults.
guys don't even believe you can love anybody. That's why.
Yes, I do. I just
No,
don't
you
think free
don't.
will does it.
Well, if free will doesn't do it, if it's not your choice, then who do it?
I do. Why do I have to keep telling you that? Why
Who
don't
is
you tell me
I?
what why
I'm
don't you
asking you,
tell
who is
me,
I?
Angel, tell me what free will
Hold up.
is.
Free will, you go straight to the free will theorem.
What is it?
The free will theorem of Conway and Coaching states that if we have free will in the sense that our choices are not a function of the past, then subject to certain assumptions, so must elementary particles. In
I
other
didn't ask you
words,
to describe free will. I told you to tell me
so
what it is.
that's what I'm describing. It's a choice. So if I have a
What
choice,
is it?
so it's a choice of you said you're making a choice, and nobody is determining your choice. There's nothing that determines your
Stop
choice.
describing verbs to me and tell me what free will is.
I
I can
just
tell you what I
I'm
am,
reading
and
out
I can
right
tell
out
you
the
what
dictionary
chemicals
what it
are,
is.
and
What
I
are you
can tell you how
talking about?
nervous systems work. Tell me what free will is.
Free will, one, voluntary choice or decisions. Freedom of humans to make choices that are not determined by prior causes. That's exactly what the free will theorem is. But you're saying that you have no free will. This is why only 78%
I'm
believe the
saying you don't
nonsense of
have it either.
atheism. This is why only 7 to 8% believe this nonsense. Because you don't even
First of
think you can
all,
love your
that's not
family.
the first of all, that's not
You
the
don't even
reason.
think you can love your family.
Yes, I do.
How? You don't make a
By
choice.
loving them. Who cares? It doesn't have to be a choice. If I drop this thing, it'll
You
hit the ground. It does hit the
who
ground. Did it have a
determines
choice?
who
No.
determines that you love your mother?
I
Who makes
do.
that determine?
I
Who are
do.
you?
My
If
name
there
is Eric. Nice to
if
meet
you
you.
have no free will, who are you?
My name is Eric. It's nice to meet you.
If you have no free will, who are you?
My name is
Freedom,
Eric. It's
free
nice
will
it's
is
nice to
freedom.
meet you.
Listen, freedom of humans to make choices do not determined by prior causes. So, but you're saying that you don't have any free will. So there's nothing to determine your choice that you love your mother. So
Yes, there is. It's me. My name is
I can
Eric,
make the
and it's
case,
nice to meet you.
I can make the case that atheists don't love their parents or their
Yes, I
children.
do.
How? You have no free choice. This is why only 7 to 8% of the world
What
think
is
it's
free what is
nonsense. It's
okay, then
logical.
what is a
It's
free
illogical.
choice? Tell me
You
how a
can't
free
even
tell
love
me
your
how a free choice happens.
hold up. You can't even love your kids.
You
Think
said the
about that.
exact Angel, you said the same thing so many different times. Tell me how free will loves something.
Because you have a soul, you have a spirit, you have something
What's that?
outside. You have something outside of yourself, a
What's
person that
that?
has a relationship.
What is it?
It's something outside of your material shell that has there's something outside of your body
What is
that
it?
has a relationship.
Great. So when I say I love my mom, you don't
Mhm.
accept that. But
Yeah,
when you say something that's not even understandable helps you do it, that works. That's
it is
fine for you.
understandable. Most of the world believe in something. 84 to 85% of the world believe that something outside of themselves exists. It's only the irrational atheists and agnostics, the 7 to 8% of the outliers, the idiots, who think they don't have any free will.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay. So prove that I have free will.
Because look, you make a choice. You make choices.
Prove that I make
I
choices
just proved to
freely.
you.
Prove
Listen,
that I freely do it.
I just proved to you with the
No, you
free will.
didn't.
For one, I give you
An
several reasons.
argument is
I
not
talk,
evidence or
I talked to
proof.
you one first about Bayesian updating, and number two,
That's
I
great.
talked to you.
Computers can do
No, I'm
that.
talking to you about the free will. There's been nothing that refutes the free will theorem, because the free will theorem says if you determine, for instance, you do a measurement on a quantum a system, and you measure the electron spin, whether it's spin up or spin down. There's nothing physical. There's nothing that can determine the choice of the observer, of the experimenter, to make that measurement. Or you have what's called a hidden variable, meaning there's some physical system that determines the outcome of the measurement. And that's been just refuted in experiment and experiment and experiment in quantum mechanics. The experimenter has to have a free choice to measure the quantum system. If they don't have that free choice to
No,
measure the quantum system,
indeterminacy is not free
then
will.
you got to posit a physical system that determines the outcome of a quantum measurement, and that's been refuted by every aspect, every experiment in quantum
Nothing
mechanics.
you just described is free will.
It isn't free choice.
Indeterminacy is not free
It's
will.
free choice. You have to have a free choice to
Nothing
make a
about that
measurement.
proved that anybody freely chose to do
If there's
anything.
something physical that determines your choice of measurement, then you have what's called a hidden variable. And from Bell's theorem to Bell's inequality, every test in quantum mechanics has refuted any notion of a hidden variable that determines the outcome of every event or
Yeah,
outcome of the quantum measurement.
indeterminacy is not free will.
But you have to have a free will to make a choice, or you have
No,
a
you
hidden
don't.
variable. Yes, you
You
do.
haven't demonstrated
That's
that in
what
any
the
way.
free will theorem.
Okay,
Anybody who wants to
Angel,
look up the free will theorem and look at what Kachin and Coach said in their
that's great.
in their talks, they talked exactly why humans must have free will, because you can't know what a quantum measurement is. You can't have something physical that
If
determines the
if we
outcome
have
of a
free will,
measurement.
then that quantum system has free will as
But
well.
you don't believe you have free will. Think
That is
about
correct. I would
it.
like. Okay, so
But that
Angel, prove to me you have free will
but that's
by
why
holding your hand inside of a candle flame and don't feel pain.
I prove I have free will because I determine
No,
my
I'm
choice.
giving. Do it this way. Hold your
I
hand inside
determine
of a
my
candle
choice.
flame and don't feel
Look,
pain.
it's about 7 to 8% of the world population is atheists and agnostics.
Can you hold your hand inside of a candle flame and choose to not feel pain?
Of course not. That's the
Then you
laws
don't
of
have. Then you don't
of
have the
course.
free will to make that decision.
But I have the free will if I'm dumb enough, if I'm stupid enough to put my hand in there and get burnt.
If you
I have
have
the
free
free will
will,
to
then
make
you
that
can
choice.
also choose not to
Hold
feel the
up. I
pain.
had the free will to make the choice to put my hand in the fire and get burnt like a dummy. But I had the free will to make that choice.
If
I
you
ended up
have
in the
free will,
hospital.
it applies to
But you don't.
everything.
Hold up.
If you're going to give me a reductionist, materialist
Yeah,
explanation for why you feel pain and you
I
can't
have the
resist
free.
it, then I'm going to argue that that's where all of our
I
thoughts and
have a
desires
free.
and actions come from in the
I
first
have a free
place.
will to make that choice. But
No,
according to
you haven't
you,
demonstrated that you do because
according to you,
you've
I have
demonstrated that you
demonstrated.
don't have the free will to make
There's nothing.
certain other choices.
Hold up. Tell me, if I choose to put my hand in the fire, what is
You didn't
determining my choice?
choose.
What is determining my choice to put it there?
You didn't choose.
But this is why atheism is 7 to 8% of the world. It's stupid. It don't make any sense.
And your inability to choose not to feel pain
Seven
defeats
to
the
8% of
concept
the
of free
world.
will. There we go.
Because you don't believe you can choose to love your family.
Do you love your family?
Yes, because I choose
Okay,
to.
ready?
I
Don't.
make that choice.
Just go ahead and don't for like 5 seconds. Do it.
I can't because I make that choice. You're not making any sense. Because I choose. I make the choice to love my
choose
family.
not to love your family.
It's
I
not a
can't.
chemical. It's not a
Here's
chemical
here,
reaction.
I can prove free will exists
I know
because
I
I
know,
can't
I
choose
know,
to do the things you're asking
I
me
know
to
you
do.
get upset about. You heard about it because you like, hey, I can't even love my mother. I mean, because it's not me. It's not anything outside the chemical. It's no different than rust on a car. It's not anything outside the chemical reaction.
In the sense that it's the laws of physics,
So,
correct?
so,
I believe
so,
in the laws of physics. I
yeah,
don't believe
so
in
your
I
love
don't
is
believe in
no
these
different
souls
than
and spirits that you
what's the
told me about
difference?
that you have
Okay,
no
so what's the
evidence for.
difference between your love and the rust on a car?
I'm not a car and I'm not
But
rusty.
what's the difference? They're both chemical reactions. What's the
Oh,
difference?
okay. So because two things are
What's the
chemical
difference?
reactions, they are the same thing.
But you have
I'm a
no.
person, you're a person.
But you
Therefore,
have
I am
there's
you.
no. But there's no control. You have no control over the rust of the car when the car rusts. Just like you have no control on whether you love your mother or not.
That is correct, and neither do you.
You have no
And you know how
control
I know
because
that?
you have
Because you
no free
admitted it.
choice.
Neither do you. You admitted it.
You are a chemical automaton. It's a reason why
So are
7 to
you.
8%
You
of the
admitted it.
listen. You're just chemicals. You don't. You can't.
Angel, did you admit that
Listen,
you can't choose not to love your
listen.
family?
Because I made the choice to love my family. That's why.
Choose not to.
Because I made the choice to love my family.
Choose not to.
There's some people that choose not to
I'm
because they
asking
don't have
you
a
to
good
do it.
relationship. Because they don't have
Yeah,
a
I'm
personal
asking you to do
relationship.
it.
Because they don't have a personal relationship with their family. So there's some
That's
people that
great.
choose
I'm
not
sure
to.
your mom will forgive you
And that's
just for
because
the
they
next
have
5 seconds. Don't
because
love
they
her.
have a free choice. They're
No,
not
they don't.
atheists. They're not 7 or 8% of atheists who think they don't have a choice. Nobody
Yeah,
with a
if
logical
only I
thinking
was a
mind,
Trump supporter, then I would be
nobody with a
logical.
logical thinking brain thinks that. Let me ask you a question.
Go
In your
ahead.
life, do you have personal relationships?
Yeah.
Are those
I
personal
have a mortal
relationships?
enemy too.
Are those personal relationships real?
Yeah.
Okay, give me the scientific evidence that those personal relationships are real.
I could get in an fMRI machine and we could see that when
Get
I look at people I love, certain mirror neurons in my brain fire, for example. We could look at the rate in which blood flow goes to
the
different parts of
reason
the body because we know how emotions are
the
associated
reason why
with
you
like
can't prove
physiological reactions in our bodies.
the
We can detect
no,
psychopathic tendencies in people who don't have these kinds of
you
feelings.
can't
So we can
prove
scientifically actually
no,
validate this
you
very
can't
easily.
validate. Show me
Well,
one
not
difference you
easily,
say
but it
percentage
can be done.
because your personal relationship is built on personal experiences. You can't put
Okay,
those personal
great.
experiences
Ready?
under a
Ready, Angel?
microscope.
Ready?
You can't put those personal
Scientifically show
experiences.
me that you actually do love your mom.
You can't because as human beings we have personal experiences
So
that
do
build
I.
a personal
That doesn't mean
relationship.
free will exists.
That build a personal relationship.
I have a personal relationship with my
No,
mom. There, it's
and it's
scientifically
based on
proven.
what? It's based on the accumulation of personal experience.
Yep, nothing you just said is free will.
But you can't prove them scientifically. You can't prove those
If you
personal.
can, then I can. Because at
You
no
can't
point did you
prove.
even
Hold on,
say
you
free
can't
will.
prove those personal experiences scientifically. So how do I know they're real? How do I know you not? How do I know you don't really hate your mother?
You can't access my thoughts.
Hold on.
That is
How do I
correct.
know?
But I can't access your thoughts
Oh,
either.
how do I know you don't really hate your mother?
You don't know that. I
Prove to
do.
me. Prove to me you don't really hate your mother.
I don't know what level of proof you would accept, but
Give me
you can't
scientific
access
proof.
my mind, and I can't access your mind.
Exactly.
Which means you
It's
can't
built
prove
on
that
a
I don't
personal
have free
relationship.
will.
So this is again,
or that
it
I
goes
do have it.
again. You proving again why there's only 7 to 8% people who are atheists and Gnostics. It's a senseless thing. Listen, you could even go to Erwin Schrödinger, who said this about atheism. He said from Schrödinger's equation.
You
He said,
have quoted this a gazillion times. I'm not interested. Go ahead and scientifically prove that you love your mom. Since free will allows for this or something. Scientifically prove that you love your mom. Go ahead.
the fact claim that I can scientifically prove that. If I can't.
Okay, so then
Relationship with my
if
best
I
friend.
can't, that doesn't prove
But it's
anything
built,
on your side.
but it transcends space and time. It's something that you know is real because of the accumulation of personal experience that you make a free choice to have with a person, this person or that person.
No evidence that it's a free
you don't want to
choice.
hear the Erwin Schrödinger quote because it refutes everything you just said.
There's
Because
no evidence that any of this is a free choice.
it's built on the accumulation of personal experience. But you're an atheist.
Yeah.
You don't even think you
Yeah,
have a
freaking Mount Everest has an accumulation of experiences.
You don't even think
It experiences weathering and erosion. There's no
as
free
an
will there.
atheist, you don't even think you're making a choice to have these personal experiences. It's just some sort of neurons firing and dopamine and some sort of chemical, because there's no ghost in the machine. There's nothing outside of those chemical reactions.
And
So
you're
that's
demanding
not
that
you
I
doing
believe in a
anything.
spirit or a soul, which
How
you
the-
can't prove exists.
That's
So
not you
there's no
doing
reason for me to believe what you're
But,
saying.
but again, the point is, atheism and agnosticism is just irrational.
Yeah,
it's why 7
You're
to
not
8%
seriously going to compare the global statistics
7
to a
to 8
poll about Trump supporters.
7 to
Again, are
8
you?
7 to 8%
You are,
of the
okay.
world population
Yep.
believe in atheism.
You're actually doing
Why
that
do
again.
only 7-8% of the world and 85% of the world
Because
have
progress in
that active
education spreads slower than they should.
we have you guys tell us Darwin is this and this scientist is science and information. With all this access to information and the science and the Darwin, why don't we have like 30-40% of the world believe it? Because it's
In a few decades, we probably will.
It's a senseless game to believe that you don't make any choices, that you don't even choose your favorite.
That's not what
You
atheism
don't even have a
even is.
favorite food. You can't even have a favorite food because you can't choose to have a favorite food.
I have a favorite food.
But it's not your choice.
So?
You don't
That doesn't
choose-
mean that I don't have a favorite food.
No,
Jeebus
you don't.
fucking crispy.
Some chemical reaction that don't know anything has a favorite food. Not
Yeah.
you. 'Cause
Yeah,
no
there's a
you.
thing that has a
Does the
favorite
chemi-
food.
hold
Yep.
up. Does the chemical reaction know what your favorite food is?
I know what my favorite food is.
Who is I? Tell me who is I?
My name is Eric. It's nice to meet you.
Okay, so who is I outside of the chemical reaction? Is there an I
There
outside?
is no outside.
Okay,
And you
so
don't
it's
have any
just a
evidence that there is
so
an
it's just a
outside.
so it's just a chemical reaction. So you have no real love.
It's a
Ma-
series of them. Yeah.
like Mary J. Blige says, there's no real love.
that
in
is what love is.
There's no real love in atheism. Mary J. Blige would be ashamed. There's no real love in atheism. That's why only 7 to 8% find it rational. It makes no sense.
That's great. So atheism is not when you don't believe in free will. That's not what atheism is.
Atheism is a lack of belief in God. You
there
reacting
you
to
go.
others' belief. You're reacting to the belief of the rational 84 to 85% of it.
Which is
Just
why
like
you believe in unicorns.
if you
Because you're
have-
just reacting to other people that do.
If you have a lack of belief in that gravity exists, then you are spitting against the wind because the majority of people think gravity exists. But you're spitting
Yeah,
against the wind.
an appeal to popular opinion is not how we
and
decide.
that's just like atheism, because God has an established existence that you are having a lack. That's why you have a lack of.
Zero evidence.
You are reacting to the existence of God. That's
I'm
what you're
reacting to the claim.
You're reacting to the existence. You lack a belief in the existence. You're reacting to his existence. That's because his
There you go. The
existence,
same way you don't believe in the
his
tooth fairy.
existence is established by the 84 and 85% who think they actually can love somebody.
Something is not demonstrated to exist based on whether or not 85% of the population believes in it.
Sure, it is. They have an inherent belief that humanity, you can make this true statement.
That proves nothing other than what people believe.
Humanity has an inherent belief that there's a God or something greater than themselves outside of themselves. 84 to 85%. Just like most of the people believe that gravity exists, the existence of gravity. But there's a small minority of rational people who believe have a lack of belief in the existence of gravity, just like there's a small minority of people who believe there's a lack of evidence for the existence of God. These people are just outliers. And so it's not the job of 84.
At one time, anything is an outlier.
It's not a job of the 84, 85%.
That's how things work.
It's not a job of the 84, 85% to prove to you that God exists. You have the outlier position.
You're the ones making the positive claim. Rejecting a claim is not a positive claim.
It is a positive claim because you're lacking a belief in something, the existence of something. That's a positive claim.
No, it isn't. A positive claim would be me saying, I know for certain that God doesn't exist.
No, there's people who lack a belief in the existence of gravity. I've debated them before. They lack a belief in the existence of gravity, but they don't, and for them to be correct, they would have to go against the majority of people who accept that gravity exists.
Something isn't true based on what percentage of people believe it.
The majority of
people. At one time, Einstein was perhaps the only person that believed in his theory, but those theories were true. But it had nothing to do with based on how many people believed in it.
But this is my point, though. This is my point. Over time, it grew and grew and grew. In a short period of time, once these things started to happen, that Einstein was right. We have been atheists. We have had all this science. You speak about evolution and Darwin.
The culture is permeated at all levels.
We have all this information
with belief in the Christian God.
We have all this information, and you're still at 7 or 8%. You're still an outlier.
Yes,
you're still an outlier.
Doodles.
You're still an outlier because most people don't accept.
Because the culture is awash with influences from people that believe in these things.
Most people inherently believe
it's an enormous nobody inherently believes in God. They're taught about it.
No, they inherently believe that God and the existence of God is something greater than themselves because they don't have
name one time where somebody who was never told anything ever spontaneously started believing in God.
It always happens. You grow up believing in God.
Because you're told by other people that believe in God.
But even when you have your own choice not to believe it. And even if you, and still when you have your own choice not to believe it, look at all the information. When you look at only 7 to 8% make the choice that